Alright, you gotta remember that the absolute value of something means it's always positive. So number 1 is actually 6 plus 11. Remember your integer rules. You've got different signs here. One's positive, one's negative, so you're subtracting. And you keep the sign of that larger number. 2 negatives make a positive. Number 6 and number 7, you are just writing the integers that are represented. So descending 60 feet, that means you're going down, so that's a negative 60. And then climbing up, you're adding 50 to that, or 15 to that. So your final position is negative 45 feet into that canyon. 7 is just your expression. Okay, remember that subtracting is the exact same thing as adding a negative. So either one of those expressions will work. But you cannot give me an equal sign. Okay? So this is all I'm asking for when it says to give me an expression. And on the test, I will bold it or underline it so you realize that that's what I'm asking for. Okay? So no equal sign in an expression. Questions on any of those? Remember when you have 3 numbers, like number 10, number 3, and number 10, you're just adding those first 2 and then add that third one to that answer. Questions on any of those? We should be pretty good on adding and subtracting those integers. Number 12, the lowest is negative 123, and then they tell you that the highest is 180 degrees higher than that. So you're just adding those two together. So the highest temperature should be 57 degrees Celsius. And number 13, you could have written this as 188 plus negative 90 plus negative 47. So remember, subtracting is the same as adding a negative. Or you could have gone ahead and added your 90 plus 47 and then subtracted that from 188. Any of those options will still work. You're ordering your numbers from least to greatest, so make sure that you did that, not greatest to least. A profit means you're making money. So like if I buy a pencil for $2, but then I turn around and sell it for $5, I'm making a profit of $3 because I only paid $2 for it, but I sold it for a total of $5. Okay, so a profit is making money. Questions on any of that first page? We good so far? Can I flip it?
Yes.
Okay. 19 and 20 is just plotting those numbers on a number line. And make sure that your scale is appropriate, that you have a 0 in there somewhere, and you're counting correctly. Make sure that you just have a dot on the line. Don't put it above the line. A lot of students have been trying to draw lines above it to all the other points and stuff. Don't do that. This is exactly what I want. Okay, just a dot on that number. And number 21 through 23, you are naming the coordinate points or the ordered pairs. Those parentheses are really important. Okay. Don't leave the parentheses off, because without them, I don't know exactly what you mean by just 6, 5. That just tells me that you're separating two numbers with a comma. Okay, so make sure that you put those parentheses around there so I know that it's an ordered pair. Yes, ma'am?
You have to do those lines in the ABC.
No, that's just how I was counting. When I made the copies, I did have, it was an actual graph on here, but the copier didn't. Yeah. Well, the lines were too light, so it didn't show up. So I just did that just to make sure that I was counting the right numbers. But the one on the test, you will be able to see your lines exactly like this. Okay. Yeah. Questions on any of those? Remember that your X comes first and then your Y. Okay. 24 and 25, your points have to be labeled. Make sure that you put an A and a B next to them so I know which point you're talking about. Good. And those last few, you are plugging in the numbers and then solving. Make sure that you're plugging those numbers in correctly. If you don't plug them in correctly, then your answer is, of course, going to be wrong as well. So be careful when you're doing that. Questions on any of those? Yes, ma'am. Number what?
You have to circle. You don't have to do that too.
Number what? This one? Not really, because 2 minus 2 is 0. It's the same number. You can, but either way. 2 plus negative 2 still good. Yeah. Either way. Questions on any of those? Okay. These last couple of questions are examples from the Scantron test, so you might see something like this tomorrow. Remember that you always start at 0, and then in this case, we went to the left -4, and then we went back a total of 7 spaces, which gave me 3. So that's -4 plus 7. Okay. Does that make sense? We all got that one? You don't really know whether you started to the right or to the left, but looking at all your answer choices, it tells you that every single one of them started to the left. So that means you start at 0 and you go to the left 4 because -4. And then to end up at 3, you're having to figure out what you're adding to it. So you're having to go 7 spaces to get to 3. So that's why it's -4 plus 7. Okay. Number 2 is answer choice B. So she had a -15 balance, and then she put $50 in. So that's -15 plus 50. So just looking at the expression or the equations that they gave you, you could go ahead and mark out answer choice A and C. So it's between B and D, and then once you look at the actual number line, the number line is correct on B. Questions on that? We good? Number 3, that should be answer choice D. So you're basically just looking at -15 plus 9. So if I started at 0 here, and then I went to the left -15, and then I'm adding a -9 to that as well, I'm going 9 more, and it ends up at -24. And that's the only number line that is correct. And then adding and multiplying fractions. Now number 4 should be 13 over 20. You have to find that common denominator when you're adding fractions, but you do not add the bottom numbers. Okay? Only the top numbers. And then number 5, when you're multiplying, you need to change that 3.5 to an improper fraction first. So 7 over 2 times 2 over 5. And then you can go ahead and cross simplify if you like. So 7 over 5, which as a mixed number gives you 1 2/5. Questions on any of that? This answer key and this video will be on Google Classroom that you can study tonight and tomorrow. Okay? Any questions? When is this test?
Tomorrow. Wednesday.
It's on Wednesday.